welcome to SnapMath. Thank you for sending in your question tonight. So what we're doing here is we're trying to see where this polynomial is negative. So where it's less than 0, that's what it's asking. So what we need to do is we need to find the zeros of this polynomial. And to do that, what we want to do is we want to do synthetic division. So I'm going to set up synthetic division and 55. -3 and -2. And the number we put in here, we're going to do a little side work off to the side of the rational roots theorem, where we take the roots of the last one and the first coefficients and put them over each other. So the first is the last one is going to be our coefficients on top. So it's going to be plus or minus 1 is a root of 2, and plus or minus 2 are the roots of this one right here. And then the other one's going to be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2 again, plus or minus 5, and plus or minus 10. So all of the roots come from these numbers. So it's like 1 over 1, which is just 1, so we have plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, 1/2 plus or minus 1/5 plus or minus 1/10 plus or minus. So we can continue on down the line that way. I think that's it. Everything else kind of reduces down to those 6 or 5 things. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose one of these things out from this one. So I've already done a little work, and I know that -2 is actually going to work out with the synthetic division. So what we do is we make our line, bring down the 10. So it's 10 times -2 is -20. Add these two together is 28. And then 28 times -2 is -56, which comes to -1 times -2 is going to be 2. Then we get -1 times -2 is 2, so it's 0. So this is one of our roots. This is one of our zeros, -2. And then again, I've done work already to say that 1/5 is going to be another one. So we put the same or the different coefficients, the one on the bottom right here, 28 and -1 and -1. And now what we do is we bring down the 10 once again. And then we get 10 down here. Divided by 5 is 2. Add those together is 30. Divide that by 5 is 6. Add those together. What you get is 5. And then divide that by 5 is 1 is 0. So that's our other 0. We're still looking for 2 more. So what we want to do is I'm going to write this as a polynomial now. This is x squared. So if we wrote this as a polynomial, it would be 10x cubed plus 28x squared minus x minus 1. But this one's going to be plus 30x plus 5. And if we try to factor it, it's not actually going to factor. So what we're going to do is we're going to do side work again. We're going to do the quadratic formula. So it's -30 plus or minus the square root of 30 squared minus 10 times 5 times 4 all over 10 times 2, or 2a, which was 10. So what we finally get, if we do a little reducing, it's going to be -30 plus or minus, and this just goes down to 700 over 20. And then I'm actually going to do one more thing where you bring out the 100 and the 10. And what you get is we're going to divide everything by 10. So it's 3 plus or minus root 7 over 2. So these are our next 2 roots. So we have 4 roots here, right here, okay? And if we set them in order, this is negative, one of these ones is -2.8 something. And then we're going to set the other one as 2, like on the number line. So -8, 2. And the other one's really close to 0, but it's negative. So it's negative 0.177. And that's if you put these two numbers right here are the numbers that you get out of right here if you put them into your calculator. And then the last number is going to be the positive 1/5. So now what we want to do is we want to pick numbers that if we plug those in to our calculator, into our original equation, we'll see if it's a plus or a minus. So here you can just plug in -3. Here you can plug in -2.5. Here you can plug in -1. Here you can plug in 0. And here you can plug in 1. So these, I'm going to circle the ones we're plugging into our equation. So there's 5 things that we're plugging into our equation. And there's 5 intervals. Here to infinity. Here in between. Right? Here to here. And then here to here, and then here to here. Those are our 5 intervals. Okay? So if we plug this in, what we get out is actually a positive number. You can plug them into your calculator. I didn't actually write all the decimals down, but each one of these things, once you plug them into your calculator, these numbers right here, the circled ones, you get out a positive number for this interval, a negative number for negative 2.8 to -2, a positive interval for the next interval, and then negative and positive. It's not necessarily always going to be alternating, but this one did come out that way. 0 is easy to see. It just comes out as -2 because everything else goes to 0. So that's an easy negative to see. And then the other ones are a little bit more difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to write our interval where this is negative. So I'm not going to write -2.8. I'm going to write the negative one of this. So it's going to be -3 minus √7 all over 2. So, and then it's going to go all the way to -2. And we're going to say union. And then the next interval is the positive one of this. So it's -3 plus √7 all over 2 to 1/5. And that's where it's negative also. So it's negative. This polynomial is negative all on these 2 intervals and only these 2 intervals. Okay? Thank you for sending in your question tonight, Lauren, and we look forward to answering more of your questions in the future. Have a good night.